Admiral Zektar stood on the bridge of his massive command ship, looking down at the blue and green planet below. Earth hung in space like a wounded animal, its cities dark and silent. 3 months had passed since the great victory, and the sight still filled him with satisfaction. The bridge buzzed with activity as his officers coordinated the occupation forces. Alien soldiers patrolled the streets of human cities. Mining ships stripped resources from the planet's surface. The humans who remained alive worked in the factories and farms producing goods for their new masters. Admiral called his communications officer, a tall creature with purple skin and 4 arms. The morning reports from all sectors. Zektar turned away from the viewing screen. His species, the hegemony, had conquered dozens of worlds, but Earth had been different. The humans had fought harder than most races. They had destroyed 3 of his battle cruisers before their defenses finally broke. "Read them," he ordered. Sector 7 reports mining operations at 90% efficiency. Sector 12 has processed another 1,000 human workers for the factory complexes. All garrison commanders report their positions secure. Zektar nodded. Everything proceeded according to plan. The humans had been a surprise, but in the end, they fell like all the others. Their technology was impressive for such a young species, but it could not match the combined might of the Galactic Federation. The Federation represented 47 different alien species, united under one command. They had been expanding across the galaxy for over 1,000 years. When they discovered humanity 50 years ago, they knew this day would come. Humans had spread to only a few dozen star systems. They had no allies, no ancient weapons, no secret knowledge. They were alone, and that made them weak. "Sir," another officer spoke up. This one belonged to the Nexus race, with gray skin and large black eyes. "We have received the daily status reports from the outer colonies." "Excellent. How many human worlds have we fully secured now?" The officer checked his datapad. 41 colonies are under complete control. Production is meeting all targets. The human population appears to have accepted their new situation. Zektar walked to the tactical display that showed the entire Sol system. Red markers indicated Federation ships and installations. Green markers showed human settlements now under alien control. There were hundreds of green markers and thousands of red ones. "Any signs of resistance?" he asked. "Minor incidents only. Some humans still try to sabotage equipment or attack patrols. Our forces deal with them quickly." This was normal. Every conquered species went through the same stages. First came shock, then anger, then small acts of rebellion, and finally acceptance. The humans were nearly at the final stage. Zektar remembered the day they broke Earth's defenses. The human fleet had fought bravely, but their ships were too few and too weak. Their orbital stations fired until the very end, even when defeat was certain. Some human vessels had tried to ram his ships rather than surrender. It was almost admirable in a primitive way. "Admiral," the communications officer spoke again. "Priority message from Fleet Command." "Put it through." A holographic image appeared above the tactical display. Supreme Commander Veltar, leader of all Federation forces, looked out with his 6 eyes. His species, the Dominion, ruled the Federation through superior intellect and ancient technology. "Admiral Zektar, congratulations on your continued success. The conquest of Earth remains our greatest victory in recent decades." "Thank you, Supreme Commander. The humans are proving to be efficient workers. Their industrial capacity will serve the Federation well." "Indeed. However, I have received some concerning reports from the outer territories. Several patrol ships have failed to report in on schedule." Zektar frowned. "Which sectors?" "Various locations throughout human space. Probably nothing serious, but I want you to investigate. Send additional patrols to any areas where communications have been disrupted." "Of course, Supreme Commander. Most likely equipment failures or small rebel groups. We will handle it. See that you do. The Federation Council is very pleased with our victory here. We cannot allow any problems to develop." The transmission ended and Zektar turned back to his officers. "You heard the Supreme Commander. I want status reports from every garrison in human space. If any have communication problems, send repair teams immediately." "Yes, sir," several officers replied at once. Zektar walked back to the viewing screen. Earth looked peaceful from orbit, but he knew the truth. Millions of humans lived on the surface, working in the mines and factories his forces had built. They produced metals, foods, and manufactured goods that would be shipped across the galaxy. The humans had possessed some unusual technologies. Their computers were more advanced than expected for such a young race. Their energy weapons had been surprisingly powerful. Some of their ships had moved faster than Federation scanners could track, but in the end, technology meant nothing without numbers. The Federation fleet had brought 10,000 ships to the Sol system. The humans had perhaps 300 vessels to defend their home. The outcome was never in doubt. A junior officer approached the admiral. "Sir, we have the detailed casualty reports from the invasion." "Go ahead." "Federation losses, 18 ships destroyed, 47 damaged. Estimated human losses, 200 ships destroyed, all orbital defenses eliminated, all planetary shields disabled." Zektar nodded. The numbers confirmed what he already knew. The humans had fought well, but they were overwhelmed. Some of their final attacks had been desperate and reckless, causing more damage than expected, but not enough to change the outcome. "What about their evacuation attempts?" he asked. "Our forces intercepted most civilian ships trying to escape the system. However, some may have reached the outer colonies before we established full control. This was also expected. During every conquest, some civilians managed to flee to remote locations. They usually caused minor problems for a few years before surrendering or dying out. The Federation had dealt with such refugee populations many times. "Sir," the communications officer called out. "Incoming priority transmission from Garrison Commander Hulvar on Proxima Station." "Put him through." Another hologram appeared, showing a member of the warrior caste. His thick armor gleamed under the station lights and his weapons were clearly visible. The warriors served as the Federation's primary ground forces. "Admiral, I need to report an unusual incident." "What kind of incident?" 3 of our patrol ships disappeared near the asteroid belt yesterday. We sent a search team but found only debris. The wreckage showed signs of weapons fire, but we detected no enemy vessels in the area. Zektar considered this information. "Survivors from the human fleet, most likely. They are hiding among the asteroids and striking at isolated targets." "That was my conclusion as well, sir. Should we send additional forces to sweep the belt?" "Yes, but be careful. Use heavy cruisers and maintain constant communication. These humans are proving more persistent than most species." "Understood, Admiral." The transmission ended and Zektar felt a slight unease. Losing 3 patrol ships was not a major problem, but it suggested the humans were not as defeated as they appeared. Perhaps some of their military forces had survived the invasion. He walked to the intelligence station, where analysts studied data from across human space. "Show me the latest reports on human military survivors." A technician called up several displays. "We estimate that perhaps 20 to 30 human ships escaped the initial battle. Most likely small vessels with minimal firepower. They are probably scattered throughout the outer system, conducting hit-and-run attacks." "What about their production facilities?" "All major shipyards were destroyed during the invasion. The humans cannot build new vessels or repair existing ones without our knowledge." Zektar felt reassured. Even if some human ships remained active, they posed no real threat. Without shipyards, they would eventually run out of supplies and ammunition. The Federation's victory was complete, even if cleanup operations might take a few more months. "Admiral," another officer called out. "Long-range sensors detect a small energy signature near Jupiter. It could be a damaged human vessel. Send a cruiser to investigate. If it is a human ship, capture it if possible. The crew might have useful information." "Yes, sir." Zektar returned to his command chair and reviewed the day's reports. Food production was meeting targets. Mining operations continued smoothly. The human workers showed no signs of organized resistance. Their leaders had been captured or killed during the invasion. Everything indicated a successful conquest, but small details troubled him. The missing patrol ships, the energy signature near Jupiter, reports of minor sabotage incidents across multiple worlds. Perhaps the humans were simply taking longer to accept defeat than other species. They had shown unusual determination during the battle for Earth. Their ships had fought until destroyed rather than surrendering. Their orbital stations had continued firing even when their shields failed. But determination without resources led nowhere. The Federation controlled all the major population centers, all the industrial facilities, all the transportation networks. Even if some humans continued to resist, they could not change the outcome. A message alert drew his attention back to the communications station. "Admiral, priority signal from Outpost Gamma near the Kuiper Belt." "What is it?" "Sir, they report all contact lost with Survey Team Delta. The team was investigating unusual readings in that sector." Zektar's unease grew stronger. First the patrol ships, now a survey team. Either the humans were more organized than expected, or something else was happening in the outer system. Send a full squadron to investigate. I want answers, not more missing ships. At once, Admiral. As the day continued, more small incidents occurred. A communication relay went silent. Automated sensors detected movement in empty space but found nothing when ships arrived to investigate. 2 more patrol vessels reported equipment malfunctions and requested assistance. Each incident was minor by itself, but together they created a pattern that concerned Zektar. He had conquered many worlds, and experienced commanders learned to recognize the signs of trouble. Admiral, his intelligence officer approached, I have compiled a summary of all unusual incidents in the past week. Show me. The tactical display updated to show dozens of small red markers throughout the Sol system and nearby space. Each marker represented a missing ship, failed communication, or unexplained sensor reading. What do you make of this pattern? Zektar asked. The incidents appear random, sir. No obvious targeting of specific locations or ship types. Most likely we are dealing with scattered human survivors, as we suspected. Zektar studied the display for several minutes. Something felt wrong, but he could not identify what bothered him. The pattern did look random, and scattered survivors would explain the missing ships. Increase patrols in all sectors, he ordered. I want every asteroid, every moon, every piece of debris searched. If humans are hiding out there, we will find them. Yes, Admiral. As night fell over the occupied Earth below, Zektar remained on the bridge, watching the tactical display. The red markers seemed to mock him, representing problems he could not solve with simple force. The humans had surprised him once during the invasion, fighting harder and longer than expected. Were they preparing to surprise him again? He dismissed the thought. The Federation's victory was complete and irreversible. A few hiding survivors could not change the fate of an entire species. In time, even they would surrender or die, and the conquest of humanity would be finished forever. But deep in his mind, a small voice whispered that he might be wrong. The humans had already proven they were different from other species. Perhaps their defeat was not as complete as it appeared. Zektar pushed away such doubts and focused on his duty. He was a Federation admiral, victorious conqueror of worlds. A few missing patrol ships would not shake his confidence or change the reality of human defeat. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but the outcome remained certain. The Federation ruled human space now, and nothing could change that fundamental truth, or so he believed. Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in the underground command center, 3 kilometers beneath the ruins of Geneva. The massive chamber hummed with activity as hundreds of technicians monitored screens, showing Federation ship movements across human space. Above them, alien forces controlled the surface, believing they had conquered Earth completely. Elena smiled as she watched the latest reports flow in. The plan was working perfectly. Status report from Alpha Team, called out Commander Jackson from his position at the central console. His voice carried across the vast chamber, filled with confidence that none of the aliens suspected. All sabotage operations completed on schedule, replied the team leader through encrypted communications. The mining facility on Titan will experience a complete system failure in approximately 6 hours. It will appear to be equipment malfunction. Elena nodded with satisfaction. The Federation believed they controlled human industrial capacity, but every factory, every mine, every production facility contained hidden systems that could be activated remotely. The aliens were getting exactly what humanity wanted them to have, nothing more. She turned to the massive holographic display that dominated the center of the command room. It showed the real situation in human space, not the false picture the Federation saw. Thousands of human ships moved through the darkness between stars, invisible to alien sensors. Entire fleets hid in the shadows of gas giants waiting for the moment to strike. Dr. Vasquez, a young technician, approached her station. We have received confirmation from the Deception Committee. All Phase 1 objectives have been achieved. Elena pulled up the detailed reports on her personal screen. For 3 months, humanity had played the role of defeated victims, while secretly preparing for the greatest military reversal in galactic history. Every aspect of their apparent defeat had been carefully planned and executed. The battle for Earth had been real, but not in the way the Federation understood. Yes, human ships had been destroyed and orbital stations eliminated, but they were decoys, automated platforms designed to fight convincingly before dying. Empty hulks fitted with weapons and control systems, operated by artificial intelligence from hidden command centers. The real human fleet had never engaged the Federation forces directly. Instead, they had watched from concealment as their enemies destroyed carefully prepared targets, learning everything about alien tactics, weapons, and technology. "Show me the casualty analysis," Elena requested. New data appeared on her screen. The true human losses from the Battle of Earth were minimal. 18 volunteers who had remained aboard the decoy stations to make their final attacks look authentic. 0 actual warships, 0 irreplaceable facilities. The Federation thought they had destroyed the human military, but they had actually destroyed an elaborate theater production designed to convince them of victory, while the real preparations continued in secret. Elena remembered the day the plan had been approved. 2 years before the Federation invasion, intelligence services had intercepted alien communications revealing their intentions to conquer human space. Earth's governments faced an impossible choice: fight a conventional war they could not win, or try something that had never been attempted in galactic history. They chose deception on a scale so massive that the enemy would never suspect it. The first step had been developing quantum phase technology, based on research into dimensional physics that human scientists had been conducting for decades. The aliens possessed faster-than-light travel and energy weapons, but they had never encountered anything like humanity's new cloaking systems. Ships equipped with phase generators existed in a parallel dimension, visible and detectable to each other, but completely invisible to normal sensors. They could observe everything happening in normal space, but no alien technology could find them. Building the hidden fleet had required sacrifices. Every human colony had contributed resources and personnel. Entire asteroid belts had been strip mined to provide raw materials. The greatest engineering project in human history had been completed in absolute secrecy. "Dr. Vasquez," Commander Jackson called out. "Admiral Chen is requesting a conference with the Resistance Council." Elena walked to the secure communication booth at the edge of the command center. Inside, a holographic image materialized showing Admiral Sarah Chen, commander of the Hidden Fleet. Chen appeared to be standing on the bridge of a starship, but Elena knew the transmission was coming from deep space where no alien sensors could detect it. "Doctor, we are ready to proceed to Phase 2. All fleet elements are in position and awaiting orders. What about the Federation's patrol patterns? Are they following our predictions?" "Exactly as expected. They are concentrating their forces around the major population centers and industrial facilities. The outer system remains lightly defended, just as our intelligence suggested it would be." Elena felt a surge of pride in human ingenuity. For 50 years, since first contact with alien civilizations, Earth spy networks had been studying Federation military doctrine. They had learned that the aliens always followed the same pattern after conquering a new world: overwhelming force during the invasion, followed by garrison duty, focused on controlling the defeated population. The Federation had never encountered an enemy that planned their own defeat as part of a larger strategy. "Admiral, what is the status of our embedded agents?" Chen's expression grew more serious. "All volunteers are performing their roles excellently. The Federation believes our people are broken and submissive, but they are actually gathering intelligence and preparing for the signal to act." Elena thought about the thousands of humans who had volunteered to remain on occupied worlds, pretending to be defeated while secretly serving as part of the most elaborate spy network ever created. They worked in alien facilities, lived in controlled settlements, and appeared to have accepted their fate as conquered subjects. In reality, every one of them was a trained intelligence operative with access to hidden communication networks and concealed weapons. When the time came, they would disable planetary defenses, sabotage alien equipment, and provide targeting information for the Hidden Fleet. "Doctor," another voice came through the communication system. "This is Colonel Martinez reporting from Mars Command." A second holographic figure appeared beside Admiral Chen. Colonel Maria Martinez commanded the resistance operations on Mars, where Federation forces had established their primary logistics base for the Sol system. "Colonel, what is your situation?" "The aliens have converted our former industrial complexes into their own production facilities. They are manufacturing replacement parts for their ships and equipment, using human workers under alien supervision." Elena nodded. This was also part of the plan. Are our people in position? Every human worker in every facility is one of our agents. The aliens think they are using slave labor, but they are actually employing a trained sabotage force. When we give the signal, every piece of equipment they depend on will fail simultaneously. The scope of the deception still amazed Elena, even though she had helped design it. The Federation controlled nothing real in human space. Every worker was a spy. Every facility contained hidden explosives. Every computer system had concealed backdoors that would allow human forces to take control instantly. Admiral Chen, how long until our fleet is ready for full deployment? All vessels are operational and their crews are eager to begin. We have been watching the aliens for 3 months, learning their weaknesses and preparing our attack plans. When we strike, it will be with complete surprise and overwhelming force. Elena smiled again. The Federation thought they outnumbered humanity 10,000 to 300, but they had never seen the real human fleet. Hidden shipyards throughout the outer system had been producing warships for 2 years, using alien technology captured during reconnaissance missions and improved with human innovations. The actual numbers were closer to even, and human ships possessed capabilities that no Federation commander suspected. Dr. Vasquez, Commander Jackson's voice came through the communication booth. We are receiving reports of increased alien patrols in the asteroid belt. Let them search, Elena replied. They will find exactly what we want them to find. She thought about the carefully prepared survivor camps hidden among the asteroids, where a few hundred human volunteers lived in poor conditions and occasionally attacked alien patrols with primitive weapons. The Federation would eventually discover these camps and believe they had found the source of their problems. Meanwhile, the real human forces remained completely hidden, preparing for an attack that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Admiral Colonel, are there any new developments we should discuss? Admiral Chen consulted her data display. The Federation is becoming suspicious about the missing patrol ships. They are increasing security and sending larger search teams. That is expected and acceptable. Our harassment operations are designed to create concern without revealing our true capabilities. Colonel Martinez added her own report. The aliens on Mars are requesting additional supplies from Earth. Their logistics officers are complaining about mysterious equipment failures and delays in production schedules. Elena felt satisfaction at this news. The hidden sabotage campaign was working perfectly, creating just enough problems to keep the Federation forces busy without making them realize they were under coordinated attack. Excellent work, both of you. Continue with current operations and wait for the signal to begin Phase 3. The communication ended, and Elena returned to the main command center. Around her, hundreds of technicians continued their work, monitoring alien communications, coordinating resistance activities, and preparing for the greatest military surprise in human history. She walked to the strategic planning section, where teams of analysts studied every aspect of Federation operations. Their work would determine the success or failure of humanity's desperate gamble. Dr. Vasquez, the chief analyst, looked up from his displays. We have completed our assessment of alien command structure and decision-making patterns. What have you learned? The Federation relies heavily on established procedures and standard tactics. They do not adapt well to unexpected situations. Their command system is hierarchical and slow to respond to rapid changes. This confirmed what human intelligence had suspected for decades. The Federation had conquered many worlds using the same methods, and they had become overconfident in their superiority. They expected defeated enemies to behave in predictable ways. What about their technology advantages? Significant but not overwhelming. Their energy weapons are powerful but inflexible. Their shields are strong against conventional attacks but have never been tested against phase-shifted weapons. Most importantly, their sensors cannot detect our cloaked ships. Elena reviewed the detailed technical analysis. Human engineers had spent 2 years studying captured alien technology and developing countermeasures. In some areas, Federation science was more advanced, but in others, human creativity had found ways to gain the advantage. Doctor, a communication technician called out. Priority message from the surface infiltration teams. Elena walked to the communication station. What is it? The alien commander, Admiral Zektar, is becoming increasingly concerned about the missing patrol ships. Intelligence suggests he may request additional forces from Fleet Command. This was a development they had anticipated. Are our people ready to deal with reinforcements? Yes, Doctor. Additional Federation ships will simply provide more targets for our fleet when the attack begins. Elena felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Billions of human lives depended on the success of their plan. If the deception was discovered before they were ready to strike, the real Federation fleet would destroy humanity completely. But if their strategy worked, Earth would not only survive but emerge as the most powerful military force in known space. She looked around the command center, seeing the determination in every face. These people had worked for 2 years to prepare this moment, sacrificing everything to give humanity a chance at victory. Soon, very soon, the Federation would learn that their greatest triumph was actually their greatest mistake. The humans they thought they had defeated were about to teach the galaxy a lesson about the dangers of underestimating Earth. The deception was nearly complete. Phase 3 would begin within days, and then the real war would start. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the stealth dreadnought Unconquered, watching Jupiter's swirling clouds through the massive viewing screen. The ship hung motionless in the shadow of the gas giant, invisible to all Federation sensors. Around her, hundreds of other human vessels waited in perfect silence, their crews ready for the moment they had trained for during 2 years of secret preparation. The Unconquered was unlike any warship ever built. 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could phase through normal matter, it represented the peak of human engineering combined with captured alien technology. Its quantum phase generators allowed it to exist in a parallel dimension, observing everything while remaining completely undetectable. Captain, her first officer, Commander Rodriguez approached her command chair. All fleet elements report ready status. We have 847 vessels in total, including 23 dreadnoughts, 156 heavy cruisers, and 668 destroyer-class ships. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. The Federation thought they had destroyed the human fleet, but they had never seen the real one. For 2 years, hidden shipyards throughout the solar system had worked around the clock, building a fleet that could challenge the mightiest powers in the galaxy. What about our special weapons? All ships are equipped with phase-shift cannons and quantum torpedoes. The alien shields that protected them during the fake battle will be useless against our new technology. Sarah smiled at the irony. The Federation's own captured technology, improved by human scientists, would be turned against them. Their energy shields could stop conventional weapons, but phase-shifted attacks would pass right through them as if they did not exist. Captain, the communications officer called out. Encrypted transmission from Earth Command. Put it through. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared on the holographic display, her image transmitted through quantum channels that no alien technology could intercept. Behind her, Sarah could see the underground command center, where the Resistance had planned humanity's greatest deception. Admiral Chen, we have received confirmation from all sectors. Phase 2 operations are complete. Every Federation facility in human space is compromised and ready for immediate takeover. Sarah's official rank was captain, but she had been given overall command of the hidden fleet, making her effectively an admiral in everything but name. The title felt heavy with responsibility for the fate of her entire species. Excellent news, Doctor. How many of our people are in position? Approximately 50,000 trained operatives are embedded within alien-controlled facilities. They have been working as laborers, technicians, and administrators for 3 months, gaining the trust of their supervisors, while secretly preparing for coordinated action. The scope of the operation still amazed Sarah. Every human who had remained on occupied worlds was actually a volunteer intelligence operative, trained in sabotage, combat, and communications. The Federation believed they were using slave labor, but they were actually employing an army of spies. What about the automated systems? All major installations contain hidden control mechanisms installed during construction. Power plants, communication arrays, defense platforms, and transportation networks can be disabled or captured with simple remote commands. Sarah felt a surge of pride in human ingenuity. While the aliens celebrated their victory, every piece of infrastructure they depended on contained secret backdoors that would allow instant human control. Doctor, Admiral Zektar is becoming suspicious about our harassment operations. Intelligence suggests he may request reinforcements from the Federation fleet. Elena's expression grew more serious. We expected this possibility. Are you ready to accelerate the timeline if necessary? My fleet is prepared to begin operations immediately. However, our chances of success increase significantly if we wait for the scheduled Phase 3 commencement. Sarah consulted the tactical displays around her command chair. The Federation had dispersed their forces throughout human space, believing they were conducting routine occupation duties. Their ships were spread thin, their commanders overconfident, and their attention focused on controlling the human population rather than watching for external threats. "Captain," her tactical officer interrupted, "long-range sensors detect Federation patrol movements near the asteroid belt. 3 heavy cruisers are conducting search patterns. Let them search. Are our decoy camps ready?" "Yes, Captain." "The volunteer survivors will reveal themselves on schedule, providing the Federation with a false explanation for the missing patrol ships." Sarah thought about the brave humans who had volunteered to live in harsh conditions among the asteroids, playing the role of desperate refugees while actually serving as part of the deception. When discovered, they would convince the aliens that the harassment attacks were coming from scattered survivors with limited capabilities. "Dr. Vasquez, what is the status of our manufacturing operations?" "The hidden shipyards continue production at maximum capacity. We are completing approximately 12 new vessels per day, using automated systems and captured alien materials. The shipyards were humanity's greatest secret, concealed within the rings of Saturn and the asteroid belt itself. Federation forces had searched these areas many times but found nothing, because the facilities existed in phase-shifted dimensions where normal sensors could not detect them. How many additional ships will be ready for the final assault? Current projections suggest we will have over 1,000 vessels available when Phase 3 begins. The Federation's numerical advantage is disappearing rapidly. Sarah felt a thrill of anticipation. The aliens thought they outnumbered humanity 10 to 1, but the real numbers were very different. When the hidden fleet revealed itself, the Federation would face the largest and most advanced human armada in history. "Captain," Commander Rodriguez approached with new intelligence reports. "Our embedded agents have provided detailed information about Federation ship capabilities and weaknesses." "What have they learned?" "Alien vessels are powerful but inflexible. Their weapons systems are designed for conventional warfare against enemies using similar technology. They have no defense against phase-shifted attacks, and their tactical doctrine emphasizes overwhelming force rather than adaptability." This confirmed what human analysts had suspected. The Federation had conquered many worlds using superior numbers and firepower, but they had never faced an enemy that could strike from another dimension entirely. "What about their command structure?" "Highly centralized and dependent on constant communication. If we can disrupt their command networks, individual ships will be unable to coordinate effectively." Sarah studied the detailed schematics that her people had obtained through months of careful observation. Federation warships were impressive, but they had been designed to fight enemies using known technology. Human innovations would give her fleet capabilities that no alien commander could predict or counter. "Captain," the communications officer called out again. "Urgent message from Colonel Martinez on Mars." A new hologram appeared beside Dr. Vasquez, showing the commander of resistance forces on the Red Planet. Colonel Martinez looked grim but determined. "Captain Admiral, we have a problem. Federation security forces are conducting surprise inspections of all major facilities. They appear to be looking for signs of sabotage or hidden equipment." Sarah felt a moment of concern. "Have they discovered anything?" "Not yet, but several of our people have been questioned extensively. The aliens are becoming more suspicious about equipment failures and production delays." Elena leaned forward in her chair. "Colonel, can your people maintain their cover identities?" "I believe so, but we may need to accelerate our timeline. If the Federation discovers the extent of our infiltration, they will realize they never actually defeated us." Sarah made a quick decision. "Doctor, I recommend we proceed with Phase 3 within 48 hours. My fleet is ready, and further delay increases the risk of discovery." Elena considered this carefully. "Admiral Chen, the original plan called for 2 more weeks of preparation. Are you certain your forces can achieve success with reduced preparation time? My ship captains have been training for this moment for 2 years. Our technology advantages are overwhelming. Most importantly, the Federation is not expecting any real threat. Surprise will be our greatest weapon." Sarah looked around her bridge, seeing the determination in every crew member's face. These people had sacrificed everything to give humanity a chance at victory. They had lived in secret, trained in isolation, and prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of their entire species. Dr. Colonel, I believe we are as ready as we will ever be. The longer we wait, the greater the chance that something will go wrong. Elena nodded slowly. Very well. I will contact the Resistance Council and recommend immediate implementation of Phase 3. All units should prepare for coordinated action in 48 hours. Understood. Admiral Chen out. The transmission ended and Sarah turned to address her bridge crew. You heard the orders. Signal all fleet elements to prepare for combat operations. After 2 years of hiding, we are finally going to show the Federation what human determination can accomplish. Commander Rodriguez began issuing orders to the communications staff. Throughout the hidden fleet, captains received encrypted messages telling them to ready their ships and crews for the greatest battle in human history. Sarah walked to the forward viewing screen and stared out at Jupiter's massive bulk. Somewhere beyond the gas giant, Federation forces continued their occupation duties, believing they controlled human space completely. They had no idea that 1,000 invisible warships were preparing to emerge from the darkness. Captain, her chief engineer reported, all phase generators are operating at optimal efficiency. Weapon systems are charged and ready. The ship can transition to normal space and begin combat operations within 30 seconds. Excellent. How long can we maintain phase-shifted status? Indefinitely, Captain. The quantum reactors are operating perfectly, and we have sufficient supplies for extended operations. Sarah felt satisfaction at this news. Human engineers had not only mastered alien technology but improved upon it dramatically. Federation ships required frequent resupply and maintenance, but human vessels could operate independently for months or even years. Captain, the tactical officer called out. New intelligence from our monitoring stations. The Federation fleet is dispersing further throughout human space. Admiral Zektar appears to be responding to the missing patrol ships by spreading his forces thinner. This was exactly what Sarah had hoped would happen. The harassment operations had convinced the alien commander to divide his strength, making each individual Federation ship more vulnerable to coordinated attack. How many alien vessels are currently in the Sol system? Approximately 400 ships of various classes, including Admiral Zektar's flagship and 12 heavy battle cruisers. Sarah studied the tactical display showing Federation positions throughout the solar system. The aliens had concentrated their forces around Earth and Mars, leaving the outer planets lightly defended. When the human fleet emerged from hiding, they would be able to choose their battles and engage enemy forces on favorable terms. Begin final preparations for Phase 3 operations. I want every ship ready to transition to normal space simultaneously when we receive the attack signal. Yes, Captain. Sarah returned to her command chair and began reviewing the battle plans that had been developed over 2 years of careful preparation. The first targets would be Federation communication relays, cutting off alien forces from their command structure. Then simultaneous strikes against isolated enemy ships, destroying them before they could warn their companions. The final phase would be a coordinated assault on the main Federation fleet, using superior numbers and technology to achieve decisive victory. She thought about the billions of humans living under alien occupation, believing their species had been defeated forever. In 2 days, they would learn that their defenders had never stopped fighting. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to be revealed, and the Federation would discover that their easiest conquest had actually been their greatest mistake. Sarah smiled as she imagined Admiral Zektar's expression when 1,000 human warships materialized around his fleet. The alien commander thought he understood human capabilities, but he had never seen what her species could accomplish when properly motivated. Soon, very soon, the hidden fleet would emerge from the shadows and remind the galaxy why humanity deserved respect. The first sign of trouble came at exactly 0300 hours, Galactic Standard Time, when every Federation communication relay in human space went silent simultaneously. Admiral Zektar jolted awake in his quarters aboard the command ship as emergency alarms echoed through the corridors. He rushed to the bridge, still wearing his sleeping garments, his mind trying to process what could cause such a massive system failure. Report, he barked as the elevator doors opened onto controlled chaos. Sir, his communications officer looked up from frantically working controls. We have lost contact with all outer system installations. Garrison commanders throughout human space are not responding to our signals. Zektar felt ice forming in his stomach. Equipment failure? Unknown, sir. The communication blackout was instantaneous and complete. Every relay station, every monitoring post, every patrol ship went silent at the same moment. This was impossible. Federation communication networks were built with multiple redundancies and backup systems. No natural disaster or equipment malfunction could cause such total failure across dozens of star systems. "Sir," the tactical officer called out urgently. "Proximity alarms! We have multiple contacts materializing around the fleet." Zektar spun toward the main display screen and felt his worst fears confirmed. Hundreds of sleek warships were appearing out of empty space, surrounding his forces like predators emerging from the darkness. Their designs were unmistakably human, but far more advanced than anything he had seen during the conquest of Earth. "Impossible," he whispered. "We destroyed the human fleet. We saw their ships burn." "Admiral," his first officer's voice was tight with fear. "These vessels are not showing up on our long-range sensors. They are just appearing without warning." More ships materialized every second, their hulls gleaming with unfamiliar technology. Zektar's tactical display showed over 800 human vessels surrounding his fleet of 400 Federation ships. The numbers were wrong. Everything was wrong. "Open communication channels to the human vessels," he ordered, his training taking over despite his shock. "Sir, they are jamming our communications. We cannot reach them or our own ships." On the main screen, the largest human vessel began moving toward Zektar's flagship. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of his own command ship, and it bristled with weapons unlike anything in Federation arsenals. "All ships, battle stations," Zektar commanded. "Prepare for combat." But even as he gave the orders, he saw Federation vessels throughout the display beginning to explode. Silent flashes of light marked the destruction of cruisers and destroyers as human weapons found their targets. The enemy fire seemed to pass through Federation shields as if they did not exist. "Sir," the weapons officer reported, "our shields are not stopping their attacks. The energy beams are going right through our defenses." Zektar watched in horror as 3 of his heavy cruisers died within seconds, their hulls torn apart by weapons that ignored every protection his engineers had built. This was not conventional warfare. The humans possessed technology that made Federation defenses useless. "Return fire. All batteries, engage the nearest targets." Federation weapons lanced out toward the human ships, but many of the beams passed harmlessly through their targets as if striking empty space. Other shots impacted but seemed to have no effect, absorbed by defensive systems that adapted instantly to each attack. "Admiral," his tactical officer's voice cracked with disbelief. "Our weapons are not penetrating their defenses. Some of our shots are going right through them, and the ones that hit are being absorbed completely." This was turning into a massacre. Federation ships designed to dominate galactic warfare were being destroyed by enemies they could barely touch. The humans had not just survived their defeat, they had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, "we are detecting similar attacks throughout human space. Every Federation installation is under simultaneous assault by unknown forces." Zektar realized with growing dread that this was not a random battle, but a coordinated offensive spanning dozens of star systems. The humans had somehow hidden an entire fleet and launched a surprise attack of unprecedented scope. "Get me a communication link to Fleet Command," he ordered desperately. "Sir, all long-range communications are being jammed. We cannot reach anyone outside this system." The tactical display continued showing Federation losses mounting at an alarming rate. In less than 10 minutes, Zektar had lost over 60 ships while the human forces appeared untouched. This was not a battle, it was an execution. "Admiral," a new voice came from behind him. Zektar turned to see his intelligence officer approaching with a datapad. "Sir, I believe I understand what is happening." "Explain quickly." "The evidence suggests that our conquest of Earth was a deception. The ships we destroyed, the installations we captured, they were decoys designed to make us believe we had won." Zektar stared at the officer in shock. "That is impossible. We saw their defenses fail. We occupied their worlds." "Sir, analysis of the current enemy vessels shows technology far beyond what we observed during the invasion. These ships could not have been built in 3 months. They must have existed before our attack." The implications hit Zektar like physical blows. If the conquest had been a deception, then everything they thought they knew about human capabilities was wrong. The Federation had not defeated a primitive species, they had walked into an elaborate trap. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted. We are receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel. Put it through. The main screen changed to show a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. Her expression was calm and confident, showing no signs of the fear or desperation Zektar expected from a defeated species. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Admiral Zektar, you are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately, and your crews will be treated according to the rules of war. Zektar found his voice with difficulty. This is impossible. We defeated you. We destroyed your fleet and occupied your worlds. Chen smiled coldly. You destroyed decoys and occupied facilities we allowed you to take. Did you really think a species capable of faster-than-light travel would be so easily defeated? But we saw your ships burn. We captured your leaders. You saw what we wanted you to see. Every destroyed vessel was an unmanned decoy. Every captured leader was a volunteer playing a role. Your forces have been surrounded by my fleet for 3 months, while you celebrated a victory that never happened. The tactical display showed more. Federation ships dying as human weapons continued their devastating attack. Zektar's forces were being systematically annihilated by enemies they could not effectively fight. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields, he said desperately. We have the technology of 47 worlds. Admiral, your energy barriers are designed to stop conventional weapons. Our phase shift cannons exist in a parallel dimension until the moment of impact. Your shields might as well be empty space. Zektar felt the last of his confidence crumble. The humans had not just hidden their fleet. They had developed weapons that made Federation defenses obsolete. Every advantage his forces possessed had been turned into a liability. Sir, his tactical officer reported quietly. We have lost 2/3 of our fleet. Remaining ships are reporting critical damage and requesting permission to surrender. Around them, the bridge crew worked frantically to coordinate their failing defenses, but Zektar could see the hopelessness in their faces. They were trained, warriors of the Federation, conquerors of worlds, but they had never faced anything like this. Captain Chen, he said slowly. What are your terms? Immediate and unconditional surrender of all Federation forces in human space. Your ships will be boarded and your crews taken into custody. Any attempt at resistance will result in the complete destruction of your fleet. Zektar looked around his bridge one final time. His communications were cut, his weapons useless, his fleet dying around him. The greatest Federation victory in recent history had become the greatest defeat. All ships, he said into his command communicator. This is Admiral Zektar. Cease fire and prepare to surrender. Lower shields and power down weapon systems. The Federation attack stopped, but human ships continued materializing throughout the system. Zektar watched in awe as the tactical display showed over 1,000 enemy vessels, more than the entire Federation fleet that had originally conquered Earth. Admiral, Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. You are wondering how this was possible. The thought had occurred to me. Your species believes that victory comes from superior numbers and firepower. Humans understand that victory comes from superior strategy and preparation. We spent 2 years planning for this moment while you celebrated a triumph that was always an illusion. Zektar closed his eyes and felt the weight of his failure. The Federation had underestimated humanity completely, and now they were paying the price for that arrogance. Boarding parties are approaching your ship, Chen continued. Do not resist and no harm will come to your crew. Through the viewing screen, Zektar could see sleek human vessels approaching his flagship. In a few minutes, alien soldiers would walk through his corridors and take control of his ship. The humiliation was complete. Admiral, his first officer approached quietly. What should we tell Fleet Command when communications are restored? Zektar considered the question. How could he explain that the Federation's greatest victory had been humanity's greatest deception? How could he report that a supposedly primitive species had made fools of the galaxy's most advanced military force? Tell them, he said finally, that we learned the most important lesson in warfare. Never underestimate your enemy. Around him, alarms continued sounding as human boarding parties docked with Federation ships throughout the fleet. The occupation of human space was over. But Zektar suspected that this was only the beginning of humanity's transformation from victim to victor. As the first human soldiers entered his bridge, Zektar realized that the galaxy would never be the same. Earth had hidden its true strength until the perfect moment, and now the Federation would have to reckon with a new power that fought by rules they had never encountered. The humans had not just won a battle, they had revolutionized warfare itself. And somewhere in the depths of space, Zektar knew that other civilizations would soon learn what it meant to face an enemy that turned apparent defeat into overwhelming victory. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, Captain Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of Earth's newest orbital station, watching as the planet below revealed its true nature for the first time in nearly a year. Massive defense platforms rose from hidden underground silos, their weapons pointed toward space. Shield generators that had been concealed beneath false ruins came online, surrounding Earth in protective energy barriers that glowed like aurora in the planet's atmosphere. The deception was finally over. Captain, her aide approached with the latest reports from across human space. The Federation Council has officially requested a meeting to discuss terms for a permanent ceasefire. Sarah smiled as she reviewed the documents. 3 weeks after the destruction of Admiral Zektar's fleet, the Federation had learned that their defeat in the Sol system was only the beginning. Every Federation installation throughout human space had been captured or destroyed in coordinated attacks that revealed the true scope of humanity's preparation. "What are they offering?" she asked. "Complete withdrawal from all human territories, recognition of Earth's sovereignty, and compensation for the damages caused during their occupation." The irony was not lost on Sarah. The Federation was now trying to negotiate with the same species they had thought to enslave just months earlier. The galaxy's political landscape had changed overnight when news of humanity's victory spread to other civilizations. "Captain Chen," a new voice called from the station's communication center. "Priority transmission from the Galactic Council." Sarah walked to the communication booth where a holographic image materialized showing representatives of 12 different alien species. These were not Federation members, but neutral powers who had watched the Human Federation conflict with great interest. "Captain Chen," spoke the lead representative, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms. "I am Ambassador Krelvin of the Neutral Coalition. We wish to discuss establishing formal diplomatic relations with Earth." This was the 3rd such request Sarah had received in the past week. Word of humanity's military capabilities had spread throughout the galaxy, and other civilizations were eager to establish relationships with the new power. "Ambassador, Earth is willing to consider diplomatic contact with peaceful species. However, we will need guarantees that your governments have no hostile intentions toward humanity." "Of course, Captain. We have reviewed the tactical data from your conflict with the Federation. Your species has demonstrated capabilities that we did not know were possible. The Coalition wishes to learn from Earth's example." Sarah felt a mix of pride and concern at these words. Humanity's victory had indeed demonstrated new possibilities in warfare and strategy, but it had also made every other species nervous about human intentions. "Ambassador, what specific areas of cooperation are you considering?" "Technology exchange, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. The Federation's defeat has created a power vacuum in this region of the galaxy. Many smaller civilizations are seeking protection from potential aggressors." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. This was the new reality that Earth faced. By defeating the Federation so decisively, humanity had become a major galactic power almost overnight. Other species now looked to Earth for leadership and protection. "We will consider your proposal carefully, Ambassador. However, Earth's primary concern remains the security of our own species and territories." The transmission ended, and Sarah returned to the observation deck to contemplate the view below. Cities that had appeared ruined and occupied for months were revealing their true status. Hidden factories emerged from underground concealment, producing advanced technologies that other species thought impossible. Spaceports that had seemed destroyed opened their concealed hangars, revealing construction bays where even more warships were being built. "Captain," her communications officer approached. "Admiral Chen, I mean. Command has approved your promotion and new assignment." Sarah accepted the insignia that marked her new rank. The title felt strange after years of operating in secret, but Earth's military was expanding rapidly to meet its new responsibilities as a galactic power. "What is my new assignment?" You are to command the First Fleet in establishing security throughout human space and developing relationships with other civilizations. Your flagship will be the new Dreadnought Indomitable, currently being completed at the Saturn shipyards. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. The war against the Federation was over, but humanity's challenges were just beginning. As the newest major power in the galaxy, Earth would face tests that required careful diplomacy as well as military strength. A priority alert drew her attention back to the communications center. Admiral, urgent message from the Federation's Supreme Commander. A holographic image appeared showing Supreme Commander Veltar, the six-eyed leader of the Federation fleet. His expression showed a mixture of respect and barely controlled fear that Sarah found satisfying. Admiral Chen, I am transmitting the Federation's formal surrender documents and our request for negotiated peace. Supreme Commander, Earth is willing to discuss terms, but they will not be negotiated. They will be dictated. Veltar's multiple eyes blinked in what Sarah recognized as an alien expression of distress. Admiral, the Federation represents 47 member species. We cannot simply accept unconditional surrender. Supreme Commander, your Federation had no difficulty imposing unconditional surrender on other species during your conquests. Earth sees no reason to offer better terms than you provided to your previous victims. Sarah consulted the list of demands that Earth's government had prepared. Federation forces will withdraw completely from all human territories. All captured human personnel will be released immediately. The Federation will pay reparations for damages caused during your occupation. And most importantly, the Federation will provide complete technical specifications for all military technologies used during your invasion. Admiral, those terms would cripple the Federation's ability to defend our own territories. That is precisely the point, Supreme Commander. Earth intends to ensure that the Federation never again possesses the capability to threaten human space. The alien leader's image flickered as he consulted with advisors outside the transmission range. When he returned, his expression showed resignation mixed with lingering disbelief. Admiral, the Federation Council will need time to consider these terms. You have 72 hours. If the terms are not accepted by then, Earth will resume military operations against all Federation territories. The transmission ended, and Sarah allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The species that had once tried to enslave humanity was now begging for mercy from the same humans they had thought defeated forever. Admiral, her tactical officer approached with new intelligence reports. Long-range sensors detect Federation fleet movements throughout their territory. They appear to be consolidating their forces around their core worlds. Are they preparing for renewed hostilities? Analysis suggests they are actually preparing for defense against other species. Several of the Federation's former enemies are beginning to mobilize their own fleets. Sarah realized that humanity's victory had triggered a chain reaction throughout the galaxy. Other civilizations that had been oppressed or threatened by the Federation were now seeing an opportunity to settle old scores with their former enemy. Admiral, another officer reported, we are receiving requests for military assistance from 17 different species that were previously conquered by the Federation. They are asking Earth to help them liberate their homeworlds. This was the moment Sarah had been dreading. Humanity's victory had made them the unofficial leaders of a galactic liberation movement, but Earth was not prepared to police the entire galaxy. Inform all requesting species that Earth will consider providing support, but only to civilizations that commit to peaceful relationships with humanity and other liberated worlds. She walked back to the observation deck and watched as more of Earth's hidden defenses revealed themselves. Orbital shipyards that had been concealed for years opened their construction bays, showing dozens of new warships under construction. Defense satellites emerged from asteroid hiding places, creating a protective network around the entire solar system. The planet below no longer looked like a conquered world. Instead, it resembled what it had always been, the heavily fortified homeworld of a species that planned for every contingency. Admiral, her aide approached with a data pad. Final casualty reports from Operation Broken Chain. Sarah reviewed the numbers with amazement. The complete liberation of human space had cost fewer than 300 human lives, mostly volunteers who had maintained cover identities on occupied worlds. The Federation had lost over 6,000 ships and nearly 2 million personnel. The disparity reflected the fundamental difference between the two approaches to warfare. The Federation relied on overwhelming force and conventional tactics, while humanity had used deception, superior technology, and perfect coordination to achieve victory with minimal losses. "Admiral," the communications officer called out again. "Priority transmission from Dr. Vasquez at Geneva Command." Elena Vasquez appeared on the holographic display, her expression showing the exhaustion and relief of someone who had carried enormous responsibility for years. "Admiral, congratulations on the successful completion of all operations. The Resistance Council has voted to transfer full authority for galactic relations to the military command." "Doctor, what about the hidden facilities and embedded personnel? All covert operations have been concluded successfully. Our people are returning from their assignments throughout former Federation space. The production facilities are transitioning to peacetime manufacturing." Sarah felt a sense of completion at this news. The greatest deception in galactic history was finally ending, with humanity emerging as the unexpected victor in a conflict they had appeared to lose completely. "Doctor, what is the assessment of our current strategic position?" "Earth now controls the most advanced fleet in known space, backed by industrial capacity that exceeds most galactic powers. Our technology advantages will remain decisive for at least the next decade." Sarah nodded with satisfaction. The 2 years of secret preparation had paid off beyond their wildest expectations. Humanity had not just survived the Federation invasion. They had used it as a catalyst to become the galaxy's newest superpower. "Admiral," her tactical officer interrupted. "The Federation Supreme Commander is requesting an immediate response to our terms." "Put him through." Veltar's image appeared once again, but his expression had changed to one of complete defeat. "Admiral Chen, the Federation Council accepts your terms unconditionally. We request only that you allow our forces to withdraw peacefully. Supreme Commander, Earth accepts your surrender. Federation forces have 24 hours to begin withdrawal from all human territories. Any delays will be considered acts of continued hostility." "Understood, Admiral. The Federation will comply with all requirements." As the transmission ended, Sarah realized that she was witnessing a moment that would reshape galactic history. The Federation's defeat would encourage other species to challenge the old order, while humanity's methods would influence military thinking throughout the galaxy. "Admiral," her aide approached with new reports. "Intelligence indicates that over 30 different civilizations are studying the tactical data from our operations. They want to understand how we achieved such complete victory." Sarah smiled at the irony. The same species that had dismissed humanity as primitive were now desperately trying to learn from human innovations. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth's greatest export would not be resources or manufactured goods, but ideas about strategy and warfare. As she watched the sun set over the Earth below, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. A species that had faced extinction had instead become the dominant military power in their region of space. The Federation's attempt to conquer Earth had backfired so completely that it would be studied as an example of strategic miscalculation for generations. But with great power came great responsibility. Earth now faced the challenge of using their strength wisely, building a better galactic order while avoiding the mistakes that had led to the Federation's downfall. The age of human expansion was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same.